This is the first day we're trying to stream live. I don't know if it's happening or not, but the red light's on the camera back there, or wherever. There's one up there too, isn't there, something? Okay. So. The red light.
It's there. We're up.
There you go. They showed me looking around. So, welcome. We're back in session. This is a discussion to talk about, what is it? What do we call this thing?
Tell it pride.
Partners in Pride.
Partners in Pride. Okay. Well, Kyle, you're the one that realized what was going on.
I believe this is Mayor Blad that called this meeting.
Well, I just saying why it come up for us. We didn't know anything about it until Kyle brought it to our attention. So, Mayor Blad.
All right. Well, this was brought up to I think we talked briefly about it in an update that I had with the county commission. I had just very, very limited knowledge about it because I literally was getting a phone call on my way here saying, hey, they just told us this and this is what it looks like. And so I thought I'd throw that out to you. And so thank you very much for the meeting, for doing this. I think this is something that affects our entire community, Pocatello and Chubbuck communities. And so I appreciate you taking some time with us. It came to our attention that the county commission has decided to no longer be partners in pride in our community and cleaning up our communities. I know that with Mayor England and Chubbuck, they also were a part of this. They did some things that we in Pocatello do it on a very regular basis. We've got some dumpsters that people get in line for and reserve starting I think January 1 is when it opens up for those reservations, so they can do that, and then they wait until their turn to get that dumpster so they can clean up their neighborhood, their yard. A number of neighbors do the same thing. And so when it comes right down to it, this is a project or a partnership that we've had for quite some time. It's been a great partnership for us and for our community, and I quite frankly think it's cleaned our community up pretty well. We did expand it 3 years ago. We did. Expanded it a little bit, which it was interesting. We expanded it, and the next year my son was back from New York, just on a side note, back from New York, and we were driving through town, and he said, Dad, what's going on here? And I said, what do you mean what's going on here? He said, I've never seen Pocatello look so good. People are taking pride in their place that they live. Their yards are cleaned up. I've never seen it like this. Now fast forward a couple of years and we're being told, well, we're not going to participate in that. And so I just wanted to have a discussion on what it's going to take to get the county to participate again. If the county's willing to. The city of Pocatello, I think we're pretty committed to it. We brought this up to the county, the city council, and we're pretty committed to it. Although we are looking at every penny that we can find to fund budgets. So, with that, I don't know if Mayor England would like to say a thing or two, but I definitely would like to turn some time and just let Tom, who works with the sanitation department on a regular basis, and sees this and sees the numbers and stuff, kind of give some things.
Sure, I could just chime in with a couple things. As I have gone through this and addressed this, I don't necessarily see this as the county not having commitment to it. I understand the letter we received just talked about there hasn't been an agreement in place. It makes sense to me that we ought to have an agreement. So I've forwarded a letter to each of you that we would like to come up with an agreement. It makes sense. I can see how we're doing this, but there's no official. I've seen some of this happen as the mayor, that things that have been happening for years, and all of a sudden I become aware of them, and we've tried to clean that up. So that's the way I look at this. I see this as a cleanup. I hope it's not a problem with getting you to buy in. We just do need to come up with a contractual agreement that we all know what's going on. I echo what Brian said. It's been wonderful to see this happen in our community, and it has definitely made a difference. Unbelievable difference, actually, more than I thought it would when I first started participating. As the cities, our participation is, again, provide the dumpsters. We also do a free dumpster, and that people just line up to get that. We've had the discussion 2 or 3 times. That's a cost to the city. Is it worth it? And we always come out on there, and absolutely it's worth it. These properties would more than likely be an eyesore if we didn't give that opportunity to folks. So we provide those things, and then on those particular days we provide that, and then we provide manpower to make sure that everything gets cleaned up appropriately and is taken care of. We do some branch chipping during that time and things like that too, so it all works together well. And then we provide the manpower and the trucks to get it up there to the landfill. And so again, just appreciate that the county has in the past worked with us, and just look forward to continuing that relationship.
Okay. So as the mayor was saying, the program is very popular in our community. We start taking reservations the 1st of January, and it's usually a 3-month waiting list before people can get a container or a dumpster. Just some numbers I can throw out there. Of the 3-yard containers, we did 734 of those in a year. It's very actively used, and those people keep them for 2 days. They're allowed 2 dumps on the smaller 3-yard containers. And those smaller 3-yard containers, we just put those into the back of one of our normal commercial trucks. And so we don't cost out that. That just goes in with the truck. We don't weigh per container. And so the city, covers that cost. The only cost that the county is participating in is the cost of the roll-off containers, which are the big 17 yards. We did 299 of those last year. So they're a very popular program as well. The 17-yard containers, the bigger ones, is when the neighborhood usually gets together and you do a mass cleanup of the whole neighborhood. Very popular. Those ones are very expensive to operate. And then the county pays that portion of those fees on the landfill portion of it, because when we pick those up, those containers we pick up, we actually take the landfill dump and then haul out. And so the cost of those has been covered by the county. Last year it was $6,968.70. I believe that's the report we got. And just to kind of give you kind of a look into how committed we are to this program, we costed it out, and we're spending about $247,000 a year on this program by the time we do manpower or vehicles, and then we figured about 1/4 of a ton for a 3-yard container. So we've definitely had a big commitment, and we've put a lot of effort into this, both with manpower, financially, everything. So it's a very popular program. Whenever someone can't get a spot, they're the first ones that call whenever we get the new year coming along. So other than that.
Well, like I said, Kyle come to us and says, "Do you guys know anything about this program?" None of us, we're all fairly new. None of us had any idea. There wasn't anything ever signed, anything ever agreed upon, and you've been in the same boat. What do you mean? What are we doing here? The other deal, all other small cities south have asked us to give them more days. We give everybody in the county 2 free dump days. And that's what we assumed that everybody was using, and that was the benefit that the county was utilizing. I've been asked every time I go to the dump by people out there, well, how can we give free dump days? You ever been out there on a free dump day? It's pretty tough to get in. You got to be in line there too. And the numbers that we've received was about $10,000 a year. For the last 3 years, we had 10,000, 11,000, and 10,000. So, and
that's for our free days. That's what we're spending on our 3 days, just for Pocatello and Chubbuck.
Well, hold on. When you say 3 days just for Pocatello and Chubbuck, I'm not aware of a 3-day for just Pocatello and Chubbuck where you're excluding the rest of the county.
We have 3 days for every one of our cities. The one that's here in the spring and the fall is for this end of the county. We have one in Income, we will have one in McCammon, one in Lava, Downey, each one of them is separated. So, yeah, you've got a little bit of North County with you in this area, but it's from the Gap this way are them 2 freeways.
Income's the same, isn't it? Isn't it the same 3-day,
Income has their own.
But Income hauls their own, where we provide
We
roll-offs
provide
to the other
roll-offs
communities.
To the other cities.
Yeah, so we got a report from Kyle sent this over, and this is just covering those roll-offs for the Partners in Pride, not the 3 days. And
Okay.
it was $6,987.70 for 2019 to
Well,
2020.
he's looking at the other page with it. I gave you that.
And then for this year, through April, we're at 3,300. So it's
Okay.
kind of trending to be about that same $7,000.
And to tell you the truth, the landfill's costing us a lot of money. In fact, we've had conversations that come and talk to the city of Hotel. They're the original owners of the landfill. And it's costing us between $2 and $3 to $4 million a year, the reclamation on that facility. And that $10,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but every year when we're spending $2 million, and we had budget meetings yesterday, and Kyle told us that's gonna go on for at least the next 5 years. So you can see where we're looking at is we have no problem with people coming and dumping, but just like you talked about Blackfoot, or you talked about Blackfoot, we're raising prices. The cost of running those landfills is getting to be very, very expensive. And it's a lifetime commitment. So, I don't know where you're at in your budgets, if you guys want to continue to do this in your cities. But I'm kind of leaning towards the county. We give 2 free dump days to all citizens. And to have special times where you guys can just come dump anytime you want with no limitation, really. Just the limitation is the number of dumpsters that you have. I think the county's spending a lot of money for all citizens already. Thoughts?
Well, I kind of pushed Kyle to start looking at some of this stuff. I'm grateful that he spent a lot of time on it, and I'm amazed that the fees out there hadn't been raised or really looked at for 5 to 10 years in some instances. So that's kind of what facilitated this discussion here today. And I appreciate both programs. I understand their vitalness to the county or to the cities, but I kind of go back. I'm going to defer to Kyle and talk about what you found out with the fees and why we're going where we're at. Ernie talked a little bit about the reclamation stuff, but what other things are contributing to our fee increase?
So the last 3 years, just for remediation, we've spent $2 to $3 million per year. We just had a meeting with them. We're getting to the point where we can get to an actual, what our plan is to remediate this groundwater issue. But that's as Commissioner Mulder stated, that's another 5 years is what they're estimating out, at least, of around $2 million a year to keep that going. Also with that, we have a cell 2 closure that could be $6 million. And that could be because cell 2 is getting right to the end of, and ready to do the whole closure plan. And we have just started a cell 4 expansion. We will be running out of room in the next year and a half. So we started that expansion, and that could be upwards of $6 million. So we've got quite a bit of money out there. What we did for the first few years with this remediation is we do have some monies that we are keeping in our reserves or are making in the past years for this expansion or closure. Well, with the remediation that hit us, we have pretty much, we're depleting all of our reserves. We're at the point now that when we're in the red, $2 million a year, it hit a point where we've got to do something. We're gonna try to look at it to make it the softest flow we can to all the residents of Bannock County. But it's quite an increase in fees to make up for that money that we're spending just to be in the black.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. Number one, I have never seen personally a Bannock County free dump day for the city of Pocatello where the county's dropped off any dumpsters for the community. I don't know if that's
And
happening.
they don't in Chubbuck, Pocatello, and Ingham. You are allowed to come and dump, haul your own to the dumps for
Okay,
free.
so you said that you brought dumpsters into people, but you don't do that. We haul our own stuff. You take those to the county residents.
We don't do the residents like your program. We have one location set up at these small cities that we put one of our dumpsters. And their whole city goes to that one dumpster, all the residents.
But then they also go to the free dump day and dump out of their own pickup if they would like to.
Well, we try to monitor that, but I'm not saying that we catch everybody. That we try to keep them in their certain locations, yes.
Okay, so
I can tell you a resident in Ingham got charged, and it was a free dump day for Ingham, and they were supposed to drive theirs there. And we got calls, because they got
I'm
charged.
sure you do.
on
I'm
that
sure
day.
I'm sure you get calls when that happens. I look at this program as an extremely important program for our county. People see it when they drive through the county, they see it when they pull off into any of the cities, regardless if it's Lava or if it's Aramo or Robin or Pocatello, Chubbuck, Newtown. They see what that community looks like, and it does definitely help drive economic development. It drives where people want to live and where they want to be. And so this is a program that I would say is extremely important. You know, I understand your problem that you have. I understand it wholeheartedly because I wish I only had a $6 million problem to fix something. I wish that that's all I had to worry about in one place. The dump is a pretty big part of the county. It's a big chunk. And there's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts there, and so I understand that. What it is, I guess, a question I have is: have you ever had a rate study done to see what, number one, what rates should be, what rates should increase to annually if they do? You haven't had a rate increase, you said, for 10 years?
5 years.
5 years. So I completely understand the whole idea that you got to have a rate increase annually. I mean, we do that with our sanitation, we do that with our water and wastewater and stuff. We have a rate study every 5 years, and it shows that you have to increase it 3 to 4 to 6% depending on what the needs are. There's obviously, I mean, I did simple math. You got $12 million, maybe $14 million worth of stuff coming up in the next little while. If it were me, I would want to know how in the world we're going to pay for that.
That's exactly what we're doing.
And so I would recommend.
That's why this started.
What my recommendation would be is we get an agreement where this continues. You do a rate study so that you know what the rates really need to be, and then let's see, because this could be very easily be built into the rate study for people. To be paying that.
Kyle, why don't you talk about the amount of work you put into this, doing the rate study that he's talking about the last 3 months?
I understand what you're saying with the rate study. I've seen rate studies that the city has done that afterwards had to come back and change a bunch of fees and had a bunch of money out there that was over. So, I mean, rate studies go to a certain, but they're not 100% correct, which is.
I think the important part about a rate study is it's a blueprint, though.
That was what I was going to get to. It's a blueprint. It is something that we can go and defend in court if we're ever challenged in court. And we do have to occasionally look at things. We're talking right now. You mentioned before, I think you did. You called Tom and mentioned that we're going to increase rates, 3 or 4, maybe as much as $14 a ton. Is that right, ton?
4 to 12.
$4 to $12 a ton. Well, if that happens, what are we gonna do with our rate study? Our rate study was built on the rates we were told were gonna be there for 5 years. And so what we do is we have to adjust that rate study, and we've gotta call our people, and we have to pay another ton of money. And they're not cheap by any means, but they're defendable. They're a blueprint. They tell you how you're going to be able to spend it, and you can defend that. It's very difficult to defend. I believe it's very difficult to defend a number that you looked, put it down, and it's just you that's figured out where that is. I
So-
think that's the hard part.
So you're
So-
saying that our internal analysis isn't adequate, that we need to spend $30,000 to $40,000 to see that our rate for our landfill should go up $5 or $2?
I'm saying your internal look at things not necessarily is inadequate, but it's very difficult to defend
How?
moving into the future.
How is it difficult to defend?
Because it's me saying, this is what I decided it was there, instead of having professionals that come in and say, and defend it for you. This is where we are, this is how we got to it, this is what we're looking at into the future, this is what we're looking at here. And then there are times they recommend that we decrease the number, that's correct. But we always have what we need to be able to do it. I'm not saying that your numbers are wrong, I'm saying it gives you that protection that you probably would like to have in most things when it comes to enterprise funds.
Well, and
Is what I'm saying.
one thing to look at also on this is it being a regulatory mandated on us. It's kind of, whether we had a 5-year study or not, if something like that popped up, and now all of a sudden you have this $6 million bill because DEQ's requesting that, I don't know even with a rate study if you would have had the right numbers.
So at that point, you can, Tom could probably answer this better, but at that point, when that all of a sudden pops up, you have to adjust that rate study, and you get them in there to adjust it so you can defend it. I think is what it is. Go ahead, Tom.
And I guess I'm a little confused. Last week, I was fortunate enough to sit on a panel at the Association of Idaho Cities, and I was talking about our glass recycling program. Well, on that panel with me was Matt Beater, who is the head of all landfills for DEQ for the state of Idaho, and he was the first speaker. And the city of Blackfoot was in the room, and they asked to Matt Beater, the head of DEQ, we're seeing some huge increases to our landfill costs from the county that's providing it. Have you made any changes lately to regulations that's driving these costs up? And he told us that there was no changes.
This has nothing to do with new changes.
Oh, I thought you just said it was new stuff that DEQ regulated.
Well, no,
Okay.
no.
All right, well, I was
This
confused.
is water contamination, this isn't landfill rating, this is new things coming down. And the other thing you have to look at with Blackfoot, what they don't put out there is they were not paying what we pay in parcel fees, special tax money. Once we got that into them, that did jump them an extra lot because they were paying less for waste than our residents. So yeah, it was a great deal for them.
So a rate study would prevent that from happening. Because you would be able to have.
That's what has happened. Like I said, we have new leadership out there.
I understand.
And they've gone in and looked at it, and they brought it to us, and we says, things gotta change.
And I understand that. I guess what I'm saying is a rate study before, and if this is before your time, and so, I mean, please understand that, but a rate study, a third-party rate study would have shown that a long time ago, when Blackfoot or Bingham County says, we want to bring our waste to you, that would have instigated that rate study to be looked at, and what is the correct rate that we need to charge them, instead of trying to figure it out on a piece of paper. You have that third party that's saying, this is what's fair to your citizens and their citizens. And so, I mean, that's why I push a rate study so hard. Honestly, it really truly has helped the city of Pocatello when it comes to our sewer, water, and sanitation. It has helped Pocatello like you wouldn't believe, because we've been able to do what we've needed to do. We know what's gonna happen in 5 years. We have projections of what we're going to have to do in repairs and maintenance and things like that. And so we're charging our citizens today for what we're gonna be spending in 5 years, but we're not waiting for 5 years to say it's gonna cost you an extra $45 a month, because we now have this bill that we knew were coming, but we just didn't pay attention to it. We increased it slowly so that we could do what we needed to do, and that's the defendable part.
And that's where we're at.
So-
That is the
so-
analysis that we have performed, Brian. And so I feel pretty confident we could stand on our rate study that we've been working on for 90 days. Our numbers are pretty solid, because we've looked into the future. Now,
And I can't
you're trying to
argue-
hold us accountable for the sins of the people that were here before us, as you just mentioned.
I'm not trying to hold you accountable for any sins of anybody beforehand. I'm trying to make it so we can continue a program that our citizens have continued to expect and continue to enjoy, and it can be built into a rate study.
And I'll just tell you that I think that should be in your budget, to continue this program, then fund the $10,000 each.
We're funding $250,000 worth of it right now, and we do intend on continuing. We're asking for the county to participate with the citizens.
And I'm saying that why should Bannock County pay for specifically your city and your city when you have the same benefits that all the other cities have by 2 free dump days?
I'm saying expand it to all the cities in the county. That would be an incredible idea to do. I think you're onto something there, Chairman. I think it's a great idea to expand that and really help clean our community up. That would be a great idea.
And I appreciate that.
100% support you on that.
I appreciate that, but that would cost the county more money,
Well, maybe,
guaranteed.
maybe.
We'd be hauling, because them smaller cities don't have the capacity, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the dumpsters. So, that's where I'm at.
And I can understand that. I would ask you to remember, Pocatello, Chubbuck, people in the city there are still in the county. And we're paying that same tax, and we're still paying the same thing that they pay if you're from anywhere else in the county. And so, I would ask to remember that too.
I evaluate
Chairman,
that every
because
decision I make.
Because I think it's a great program.
Well, there's no
We'd like
debate
to
about
see it
that. I think
continue.
everybody would concede that, but I guess I had a misunderstanding. I thought you said that you had these 2 free dump days for everybody. Now I'm hearing it's just for Chubbuck and Pocatello.
No, everybody in the county has 2 free dump days.
Each city.
So actually what it is there's 2 for here, and then everybody else has 1 free dump day. So Income, Lava, Downey, we do 1 free dump day for them, but we do 2 for here because of the more amount. But then also look at, I'm paying the same tax whether I live in Pocatello or in South County, so when you want to do this awesome, I think it's a great thing you guys are doing. But what would I care living in Lava or McCammon what you guys are doing in your city? And if I'm a resident here in your city, that's awesome. I commend you on every different program you guys come up with. But why would I care if I'm down there being a Bannock County resident? If you guys have a pride and property or not. So we try to make it that we're looking at all of Bannock County, the same's given to here as to anywhere in the county, but actually we doubled up on it for here because of the amount of people that live on this end. And so the south end gets the 1 day and we have the 2 days up here. So.
There 1 day that each of these communities get, is that at the dump?
No.
Okay.
That is at
Income's
the
it is.
city with 1 dumpster.
So then the 2 free dump days that you have for Pocatello and Chubbuck, which accounts for about 65% of the people, is that at the dump, correct?
Correct.
And do you restrict people from outside this geographical region from coming? to the dump those days?
That's where I said we try to, but we, I'm not gonna say that we have a perfect science that we run them through a metal detector and get a thumbprint from them when we do it. But that's the same thing we have to do in the smaller cities, because you have neighboring areas that are close, and we do have people wanting to hit every one of them. It's kind of like Easter egg hunts in the spring, and you gotta hit every little town. So we have to, we watch that and see what's your address, what location are you at with.
Well, I would encourage the county commission to rethink this. I think this sends a poor message to the citizens in Bannock County that we're gonna go away from this for a $7,000 deal on a pretty large budget. I know it's every penny adds up, but it's $7,000 in Pocatello annually. It's probably half that in Chubby. A little less than half that in Chubby.
5,000 and, oh, you mean your total budget?
And so when you start looking at it and what the citizens are paying for and stuff, I think that we're tripping over dollar bills to pick up pennies right now. So I would just encourage you to, let's get an agreement put together, and you could cap that. You could, in an agreement, you could cap the weight, you could cap whatever, you could do stuff, but this is an important program for our community. And I would encourage you to take a look at it.
Then add the $7,000 to your budget. The county does a lot. We do the hazardous waste days. We do all kinds of things that aren't included in just this one program. And we are trying to clean up the county, do it the proper way, take care of tires, take care of the hazardous waste. There's a lot of other programs that go along with this that we pay for. And right now with hazardous waste, we're paying overtime. So we no longer have the inmates helping out of the women's prison. So there's a lot of things that have happened that have changed the cost of the county in running some of these programs. And we're still doing it.
Well,
Okay?
Appreciate it. I'd
Thank
ask you
you.
to reconsider it.
Thank you.
And I would just add to that, and I've already done that through letter form, so I've already got the request in. So, again, I think this is something that creates a benefit to the entire county. So in the past, it's always been looked at kind of a shared cost with partnerships, and we just hate to see it bow out completely. So I agree with Brian, even if it has to have some restrictions on it, I'd encourage you to do something like that.
I know we're singly focused on landfill right now, but I would like you to also consider all the things that the city of Pocatello and Chubbuck do for the county and with the county, and the cost savings that we create for the county. Because we do quite a bit of things also there to help save the pennies that are penny there. So I think there's a lot of give and take there, and this is one of those give and take moments that I think that it's something that would be prudent for the county to reconsider and take a look at. We've waived a lot of fees in the past for the county, so I would just encourage you to look at the thing in totality, and we'll go from there.
Let me just ask this question. Do you have a time frame on when you're going to make this decision as a final decision? Because I had the same thought, that I could go back and start looking at some of the things that we could maybe put in front of you that I have considered as part of this decision too. I don't have them right now, but I believe I can get them put together. So if we could be given a window of time that we could get some things in front of you to consider that way, I think that'd be a good
Well,
thing.
we're, like you guys, we're in the middle of our budget. It's at the clerk's. Right now, you got 2 weeks. So, 2 weeks.
Within the week, we've got some things for you to consider. You could say, okay, we'll do that.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We appreciate you, gentlemen.
Well,
Thank you.
we're in the same boat, whether we agree all the time or not.
Oh, we're always in the same boat, there's no question, that's why we should all be rowing together.
I think we agree.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and put us at recess.